Today on Ask Money Talk, we answer a question we're hearing about business succession. Pierre Letourneau, business succession advisor at TD Wealth, joins us now to weigh in. And here's the question for you. I don't have a successor in mind for my business. Can I still start a succession plan?
Yes, absolutely you can. And in fact, I think the planning process may help you identify a successor, right? So I think we need to reframe what a succession plan is. It's not necessarily just a replacement strategy. It's really an optimization strategy. You're trying to optimize the value of your business. I often recommend business owners to start planning at least 3 to 5 years before an exit, even earlier than that if you can, but that's the minimum, I would say. And through that, you'll be able to optimize your business and make it more attractive to potential successors. So I'd say if you don't have a successor in mind, don't let that stop you from the planning process.
Okay, so at this point, we still don't have the successor in mind, but we're going to start to put this planning process into work. What can it help you with in terms of the business?
Sure, there are many areas that it could help you with, starting off with maybe potentially eliminating what we call value killers. So one example of that is owner dependency. So you have a business that's really dependent on its owner. The owner takes on a lot of responsibilities. The planning process will force that owner to start delegating some of those responsibilities, and that makes it more attractive for a potential purchaser because it's not all reliant on the owner. Another value killer is customer concentration. So if you have one customer that represents most of the earnings of the business, well, what happens if that customer decides to go elsewhere? That could be a detractor on the business. So the process will help you with diversifying your customers of the business. Another area is emergency preparedness. So with business succession risks, there are 5 Ds that we focus on: death, divorce, disability, distress, and disagreement. A plan can help you deal with those unfortunate events and make sure that you have a contingency plan in place to deal with those events as best as possible. Another area is tax planning. So I've been on this show before talking about the lifetime capital gains exemption. It's a very important measure for business owners that are looking to sell their business. It's not automatic that it will apply or that it will be available to a business owner on a sale. Your business has to be structured in the proper way to take advantage of that. Planning can also potentially allow you to access the exemption of other family members, reducing your tax on the sale. And then finally, there's the whole fairness conversation between stakeholders. So there are usually 3 different areas of stakeholders within the business. There's the family members, management and employees, and then the owners. So these often overlap. So you can have individuals like the founder that's a family member, participates in the business and is the owner. You can have employees that are owners as well too, or family members that are only employees. So the planning process allows you to get their input, allow them to sort of share how they view a potential succession and what their expectations are. So those transparent conversations can be very difficult sometimes, but are very helpful as well too to create a plan that works for everyone as best as possible.
All right, so this process now has us thinking about the business in very important ways, but at some point you still got to name that successor. Who could be a potential successor?
There are potentially many options, and there's usually 3 different categories. So the first is insiders, so family members involved in the business, employees or management that are managing the business. They could take over, or a rising star employee, somebody that you're grooming throughout the years and preparing to take over the business. So those are what we call insiders. Then you've got outsiders, so that could be a strategic buyer, like a competitor, or maybe a customer or supplier. They're involved in the business or they're involved in the industry, and so they're natural potential successors to take over the business. And then you've got private equity firms. So they're in the business of acquiring these companies and enhancing those companies and making them more efficient to get a larger sale price. And then the final category would be what we call the hired CEO. So these are institutional successors. So those are scenarios where maybe a family wants to keep owning a business because it generates a lot of income and they want to keep that, but they don't want to be involved in the day-to-day running of the business. So they'll transition that to a CEO to be able to take over those responsibilities.
Fascinating stuff. Thanks for laying all out for us.
My pleasure.
That was Pierre Letourneau, Business Succession Advisor, TD Wealth. And if you have a question for us, send it to moneytalk@td.com.